Today I'm going to introduce the film made by Jia Zhangke. Jia Zhangke is a famous director from China, and he was a fifth generation director in Chinese film history. Today, the film's name is A Touch of Sin. However, the Chinese name is Tian Zhu Ding, which, if we translate this name in English, it will be like the destiny. This film is based on four real stories happened in recent Chinese history. This film is based on four real stories happened in recent Chinese history. So the first true story from the recent Chinese history is that a person named Hu Wenhai from Shanxi province was trying to contract the cholera in the village, but he failed. A big company contract the village, and they promised share the profits with all the people in the village. But the company didn't share the profits with them. Instead, there was corruption during this situation. So the leader of the village and the company owned all the profits that the cholera made. The person Hu Wenhai tried to report this corruption by writing letters to the government, but none of the department from the government replied or responds. So, at the end, Hu Wenhai killed 14 peoples in the village, including the leader of the village and the boss. The character's name is Da Hai, and he shared the same story with the people from the true story. He also failed to contract the cholera, and his classmates from elementary school, Boss Jiao, succeeded in contracting cholera of the village. Then, after many years, they are talking about the leader of the village is driving a Audi A6, and the boss Joe is driving a car, a Maserati. There was a very interesting shot in during this story. So everybody were wearing bad clothes. Only the leader of the village is wearing the fancy clothes. In this shot, we can tell the corruption between the leader of the village and the company who contract the cholera. This is also an interesting shot that a person is abusing his horse. I think the horse is representing the lower class of in the society, and the person represent either government or rich people So they're abusing the lower class people to work hard, and they just keep abusing, and the lower class people just can't fight about it. This is another thing that all the people from the village is going to the airport to welcome the boss Joe, and everybody can get some flower if they welcome the boss Joe. They are on the way to the airport. So in the airport, you can see how Boss Joe is making profits out of the calorie, and the leader of the village is welcoming the Boss Joe, and they give him flowers. And later on, Dahai was threatening the Boss Joe to share the profits with them, or he will report all of them to the government. Then the bodyguard of Boss Joe is hitting the Dahai after everybody left. And another guy is laughing that hitting Dahai's head is like hitting a golf. I think this is also something that rich people do, that only rich people play golf, and he's saying that he's hitting his head like golf is another uh, another metaphor that upper classes are abusing lower classes. After that, Dahai woke up in a hospital, and the employer from Boss Joe was giving him 30,000 yuan, and this thing, I think, in trying to emphasize that rich people think money can solve everything, even they hit Dahai's head like playing golf. They still they still think money will solve this problem, so they give him money. Now Dahai can't stand this anymore, so he got a shotgun covered by a tiger flag, and he's going to the office of the leader of the village. Then Dahai he start killing the officer from the government. and the leader of the village. Later on, he went for the boss job, and he's sitting there. And boss Joe is still think he's not trying to kill them. He's just asking for money, but Dahai isn't asking for money. He's asking for the fair and justice. He couldn't get the justice from the government, so he decided to use violence to solve this problem by himself. And he was happy after killing all of them. So the second true story in the Chinese recent history is that Zhou Kehua robbed people with his gun. He killed the people first, then robbed their money. And in this movie, his name is Sar. And this is the scene he went back to the village. And this is his oldest brother. And everything, they are separate equally. Even this pack of cigarette, only 9 left, so they 3 for his two brother and him. And everybody was so cold in the village, and Sar didn't feel anything warmthy from the village, and he think the village is boring. Third story is Deng Yujiao, and in the movie, the character names Xiao Yu. So Xiao Yu had a boyfriend, but his boyfriend is married, and the boyfriend promised her he will get divorced, but so the Xiao Yu is waiting for him. However, at last, what he's waiting for is his boyfriend's wife is coming to hit her and hurt her at the end. She's a front desk of a spa, and later there's a officer from the government came to the spa, and he just want Xiao Yu to service him, but Xiao Yu is just a front desk. He's not a server, or she's not a prostitute either. Then Xiao Yu refused to provide any service to him. Then the officer of the government came back and used money to hit her face. I think this is an interesting shot. It just keep repeating hitting her for like 1 minute. You can see how Xiao Yu is holding his anger, and at last he used knife to kill the officer of the government. So the last guy in this the last story in this movie, the main character names Xiao Hui, and Xiao Hui is working at a factory first, Then he was borrowing his colleague's phone, and he distracted his colleague. Then his colleague hurt his hand by the machine. Then he went to the manager uh, of this factory, and the manager of this factory didn't care much. Then he said, "You are responsible for your colleagues, and everything you worked here. As long as his colleagues is in rest, so he must use all of his salary during this time to pay for his colleagues. So the factory will not take care of it." So he ran away from this factory. Then he came to a brothel. Then so he came to this brothel. This is all of the girls here are prostitute, and they are here to serve like the upper classes of the society. They came here to have fun, entertainment, and everything. And Xiao was falling in love with one of the prostitute, and so he asked her if she wanna leave that place, but the prostitute chose to stay, and Xiao choose to leave at the end. I think the most important thing in this story is when his mother called him asking for money, and the mother thing he didn't give her enough money. Then he's yelling at him that he's spending money on his own. Lastly, he chose to jump down the building by himself. I think this movie talk about how the upper class or the society is pushing the lower classes people, and lower class people have nothing to fight about it, only but violence. All they can do is either take the abuse or fight it. But even after fighting the upper classes, they still don't get anything better than that. So the movie is talking about how in China the lower classes are suffering from the whole society.